I want to talk about the difference between a strategy and a to-do list. A to-do list comprises all the things that you could do and normally just sits there in your in tray or your whiteboard or a fridge magnet of all the things that you aspire to do, and over a period of time you will cross off a few of them. Now, I'm quite happy to talk about to-do lists. I think there are a lot of things that we can do to improve our ability to do things. But I actually want to contrast this with being strategic. Now, if I wanted to improve my fitness and health, I could do all sorts of things that would contribute to an overall improvement in fitness and health. But if I'm being strategic, take for example, I want to achieve the qualifying time for the Commonwealth Games, then I absolutely need to know, well, what is the qualifying time for the Commonwealth Games? Now, for the sake of simple maths, let's just call it 2 hours. Well, then I can think, okay, in 2 hours I have to swim, bike and run. How am I going to divide that according to my strengths? And I might feel that I can swim in 20 minutes, I can bike in about an hour, and I can run in 40 minutes. Okay, so that's how I want to divide my time. Now, I might divide my time differently depending if I'm a stronger cyclist, stronger runner, or stronger swimmer. But having established that's how I want to apportion the time, I then might think about what are the 10 things that I can do to improve my swimming, my biking, and my running. I wouldn't necessarily think of 1,000 things, but just really focus on those few things that I need to do in the 2 or 3 years that it takes to build up to that qualifying event. Now, this is very different from a to-do list. A to-do list is very generalized. A strategy is very focused. And generally, a strategy has an end date. So if your race is on the 15th of March, or your qualifying criteria has to be achieved by the 17th of October, you're really clear about the time scale in which you have to achieve each of the milestones that contribute to your overall strategy. Now, this is incredibly important because being strategic is really about saying no to everything that distracts you from your goal. So if there's something that I can do, but it isn't actually helping me achieve that qualifying time, then frankly it's a distraction. It may actually improve me, but if it's not improving me towards that particular goal, it's a distraction. And one of the challenges that I present to both athletes and organizations is you can do 100 things at 1% each and feel exhausted and not really have achieved an awful lot. Or you can do one thing with 100% commitment, and the chances are very high that you will succeed. Now, sport tends to be a very selfish thing, and you normally have very focused goals, whether that's Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, or your particular challenge or milestone. Business tends to be more complex than that. There's more than one thing going on. But my advice is there shouldn't really be more than 5. I've worked in organizations who said, right, we're going to do 58 things. And my response is, you have the organizational capacity to do 5. Choose the right 5, get them done, then move on to the next thing. But if you try and do everything all at once, you are going to fail. And you're probably going to burn out and confuse your people, your customers, your clients, your network, your stakeholders. Being really clear about your goals is particularly important when it comes to communication and collaboration, because when everybody knows the top 3, 4 things that you are doing and how they can help you with those 2, 3 or 4 things, then you're much more likely to succeed. If you present them with a very long to-do list, they'll simply say, I don't know where to start. Now, this leads us on to the conversation about to-do lists. I think the challenge here is be really focused on what's urgent, what's important, have enough time to deal with the urgent, but prioritize time for the important. Now, in triathlon, you may not necessarily be able to do everything every day. So maybe dispense with the idea that there are 24 hours in a day. Maybe even dispense with the idea that there are 7 days in a week, and think to yourself, I have 14 blocks of time over a 2-week period. Can I fit everything into 14 blocks? So now suddenly you might say, well, actually, I'm going to spend the first 3 or 4 days really focusing on quality swimming. Then I'm going to allow myself to recover and then really focus on cycling. And then I'm going to allow myself to recover and then really focus on running. Now, that isn't necessarily the best strategy, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is if you try to do everything every day, you're just going to be tired. If you think about phasing, periodization, focus, over a longer period, you can achieve much more. So it's really about managing your time. There's still only 24 hours in a day, but actually, if you take a broader perspective and manage your time accordingly, you are much more likely to achieve more.